Welcome once again to your update from the city of New Hope. Time to chat again with the mayor, Kathi Hemken. Welcome, Mayor. How are you today on this beautiful fall day?
It really is, and it's going to get a little chillier until the end of the week, and then it'll go back to summer. So there's a really short fall and winter this year.
Yeah, it's that time of the year. People will be out on that course as we see behind you, enjoying some of the fall colors. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Let's begin talking about elections. We're winding down the election season. Again, remind voters in New Hope what they need to know as they head out to vote.
Well, November 8th is the election, and they can go to their normal polling place. Now, that might have changed, and you would have gotten a postcard in the mail that says where it's supposed to be. Because of the census, they changed some of the boundaries. If you don't have that or don't remember, you can always call City Hall and they'll tell you, or you can go into mnvotes.org and put in your address and they'll tell you where you're supposed to vote. But in the meantime, if you want to vote early, you can do that at City Hall between 8 and 4:30 on any weekday up until the 7th of November. So if you want to vote early or you don't have time to vote on the 8th, come in, vote early, or if not, at least vote on the 8th. We need everybody to vote.
And again, mnvotes.org, as the mayor mentioned, great place to go to find out more information about where you can vote and who's on the ballot. Let's talk about a big success that happened recently, the job fair. We talked about that quite a bit leading up to it, and it sounds like it was a success.
Well, this is our first year of trying that, and it was a success. There were 25 vendors there, each pitching their place of business, and they were all hiring. We had about 45 people come through. Not quite half were students, which is really a good thing. So it probably is going to happen again next year. We were really happy with the success of it.
Glad to hear. Let's hop over to the airport in a neighboring city, City of Crystal. But when some changes are talked about, I understand New Hope gets involved. Explain that involvement for us and what they're potentially looking to do.
Well, this group is called JAZB. I have no clue what that means. But what it really does mean is they're planning to decrease the size of one of the runways at the Crystal Airport and increase the other one. And so to do that, they have to make sure that all the safety issues are in place. And they, of course, they contact all of the cities around there. So each city around the airport has a member on this board, and they're looking at the resolution that's going to be proposed to all of the cities to make sure that we're all okay with where the runways are and which one's been decreased, which one's been increased. So we've got a team from New Hope that's on that board, as well as all the other cities. So I'll keep you updated on what's going on with that.
Very good. Let's move to scattered site housing. A lot to report on here as usual. We begin with a couple homes that are ready for sale. Tell us about this big, nice step in the process.
Well, we've got two homes that are totally built. They're not furnished, but they, of course, put furniture in there for pictures. They can go online to see them if they'd like to. One's on, I gotta get these addresses right. One's at 5355 Oregon, and the other one is 7215 62nd. So those are both upgraded houses. They've got 3-car garages. I believe they're either 3 or 4 bedrooms. Not really sure about that, but they can go online and see them if they'd like.
All right, and online to the city's website, which again is newhopemn.gov. Now to another scatter site area, 42nd and Boone. We've seen a lot of work here, and now they're really at it, Mayor. What's happening at the former Treehouse site?
Well, they are. So they were taking down the building, and they did that. And they found that there was extra footing under the front of the building, the side that faces Boone. So they had to dig that out and break that up and haul that off. And then they started taking down the trees that were going to be in the way. And of course, before they do that, they want to make sure that all the utilities are turned off, and they want to make sure they know where the utility lines are. So they're not going into a utility line and having a water main break of some sort. So after that's all done, and they're starting to do that now, they'll grade the 2 lots that are there. So they're suitable for buildings on. And then we'll have a surveyor come in and actually survey the 2 lots, break them apart, and then we will actually send out the bids or the request for bids to the builders to have a couple houses put there. I would guess we'd have the same builder for both houses. I'm not sure. It depends on what we get back from the developers.
All right, a long, involved process, but definitely moving along. Let's move up Boone to 58th and Boone, a property there you've been telling us about. What is the latest?
Oh, bless those neighbors that have been so patient with this. So the latest thing is now the realtor has to set a price. And then she has to go to the bank, the lender, and to make sure the lender will accept that price for that property. Once that price is set, of course, the city is watching very closely. Once that's set and it falls within the realm of what we'll pay for that, basically it's going to be a lot because we're going to have to tear the house down. What we're willing to pay for that, that'll go back and forth. We're hoping that nobody else will put a bid on that to buy it. They probably won't because it's not fixable. So it'll have to be torn down, and of course, the city can usually have it torn down at a more reasonable price than an outside contractor can. So something's going to be happening. Just hang in there, neighbors. We'll get it to you pretty soon.
All right, more to come as that moves along. Business Networking Group, they've got a meeting coming up on November 2nd. It's going to be across the border a little bit, but a great service that helps out residents. Tell us about that meeting.
November 2nd, 2:00, and it's going to be at Prism. That's 1220 Zane. Prism is a food shelf in Golden Valley, but they service half of New Hope. Well, actually, they service all of New Hope, but their dividing line is the 42nd between Near and Prism. And so they wanted to have this business networking meeting at their place. So this is one of the few times we actually go outside the city, but they're such a big city partner for us. We wanted to really accommodate them and go out there. So if you want to know something about Prism and what they're doing, this is a good time to find out. You get a little tour of the building and some updates on what they're doing to help with the food shortages we have.
Great opportunity. One other business note, we've got a new business in town that you wanted to introduce to residents. Tell us more.
I do. It's called Sunrise Center for Child and Family. It's at 2738 Winnetka. That's an office space. I don't know exactly what they do, but always when we have a new business, I like to tell people that it's there. So 2738 Winnetka.
We've got a handful of updates from the police department. The first is about the Community Police Academy that is underway. What are they learning? How is that going?
Well, this last week, they learned about the SWAT team. They learned about our canines. They learned about the high risk and low risk traffic stops and what they do and how they do that. So each week they take another section of the police departments. Now this is Crystal, New Hope, and Robbinsdale. Those three departments are doing it together. So they get a real good view of how the three cities interact with each other and the stuff that we have going on in the three cities. So it's obviously too late to sign up now, but next year, if you see that and you're interested, make sure you get signed up. It's a free program. And I think it's 8 weeks.
Yeah, great opportunity. We're going to talk about more cooperation between those three cities and police in just a second. But first, let's mention Meals on Wheels. The officers continue to deliver.
They do, and they tell me the cutest stories about when they deliver the meals and how excited the people are to see them. Some are a little surprised the first time they get them, but after that, they're really happy to see the police officers. And it's usually a different officer each time. And so they get to know more of our police department. We really want seniors to be comfortable calling 911 when they have an issue.
Yeah.
And not necessarily an issue within their building. The building manager should take care of that. But when they see something out their window or there's an issue, a health issue, they need to be calling 911 and have our officers come and help them.
Great opportunity to spread some of that information. Tell us a little bit about the panel that's been put together to do some officer interviews for some candidates.
Well, I thought this was interesting. Our captain, let's see, I gotta get this right. Our police captain, a sergeant, and a detective all were in the room interviewing these police candidates. So we're looking for one new officer. And so these three were interviewing the officers that qualified to be interviewed for that. So we should have a new officer appointed pretty quick here.
Final note in police, that event that was all three cities involved was the TriCity. It was called a police forum. Give us a little recap of that forum and what was talked about.
Well, our police captain was there. The chief couldn't be there because he had to be at a fire board meeting. And there was a representative from the police department from Robbinsdale and the chief from Crystal. And they basically told us a little bit about themselves. They really want to be personalized if we can do that. And then they had some issues with people who were able to ask questions, some issues that happen and how they handle various issues. I thought it was very informative. They try to do this every year. Each year it seems to get a little bit bigger. One thing we have noticed though, there's usually not much diversity in the audience, and we'd like to see a little more of that because everybody, these police officers service everyone. So we want to see everyone there that we can. So the police officers get an idea of the issues that are concerning to our citizens.
We will keep promoting those as they do come up. Let's head over to Public Works, talk about some of the items happening out on the streets and around the city. The first is some of the utility billing. You have the latest number for us.
I do. We started at 315,000. We're down to 219,000. The deal now is it's going to start being put on people's taxes, and they'll see that on their tax bill for 2023. I hate to do that, but that's money that the city spends to buy the water, and then we dish it out, if you will, to the residents. And if you don't pay your bill, then the rest of the residents are stuck with that bill because that's where the money comes from. So we do everything we can to get the money from the resident who used the water. Now, it could be because they had a drippy faucet. And if that was the case, we usually let them know that their bill is looking a little different and they should do something. Well, if they don't, they have to pay for that water. And so we're still in that process, but it'll go back on the taxes, and we'll put reporting on it once it goes on the taxes, because that means we'll just get it that way.
Final couple notes in Public Works. Sure signs of fall upon us. Street sweeping and irrigation shutoffs. That is all happening out there right now, I understand.
Well, I asked our Public Works director if they were sweeping all of the streets, and he said, oh, no. Apparently, we hire someone to do that, and that'll be in a few weeks, and they'll go up and down the streets. But what they do in Public Works is they go to where the drains are, and some of those drains need a little more cleaning out than just the sweeper coming by. And so they kind of clean out those drains when they can. They do some street sweeping where there's a heavy deposit of leaves, just so that they don't get into those drains. So we have our own street sweeper, but we can't do the whole city with that. It's just a small one. So we do hire the job out. But in the meantime, we try to do the little jobs around that would help that sweeper get the job done more efficiently.
Very nice. And again, around some of those park buildings, that's where those systems are being shut off because we're at the end of needing water for a while.
Well, we are. And if we don't get them shut off and blown out and do whatever it is they do to them, we don't want them to freeze, of course.
Sure.
So they're shutting those all down. It's quite a lengthy process to do that. I know they've been working at the golf course pretty diligently to get that all shut down. But this isn't just in our park systems, but around the ice arena, around the golf course, those areas, that all has to be shut down.
One other Public Works item to update residents on. There's been a lot of work over the summer on the Public Works expansion project, and it looks like they're coming to the end.
They are. I went to visit it. They have this huge building for soil. And the reason they have that, the soil was kept inside the main building, and our trucks were being put outside. Well, that didn't seem like a very smart idea. So they built this big building, and it's really, really tall. And I asked him, why in the world would you need a building that tall? He says, because the trucks are that tall. And which makes sense. The truck backs in and he dumps the soil or dumps the sand that's being stored there. So they had to put the final wear course on the parking lot. That's just blacktop. And once that's in and kind of cured, they'll put these big overhead doors on. They're kind of roll-up doors.
Okay.
But that's the reason the building looks so big, because they really do have to have that big enough so they can get the dump truck in there and it can lift up without knocking the building down.
It all makes sense. All right, let's move over to Park and Rec. A lot happening here, and another big success just recently with the Trick or Treat event, and in New Hope they call it Trick or Trot. How many people turned out?
225 kids, and then there were parents and grandchildren, or grandparents too. What we've done is we put a park or a trail around Civic Center Park. And so along that trail, they had all kinds of vendors there that were giving out candy, giving out little prizes, giving out little spider rings, if you will. And so these kids just were all dressed up in costume. They walked around this big path around the city center. And then they got to go and watch a movie, Transylvania 2. 225 kids. It was a really big hit, and everybody had just a fun time.
That is fantastic, and the weather was perfect as well. Let's talk about the dancers in town. We've got dancers signing up and ready to compete in all sorts of categories.
So it's just about coming to the end of registration for the dancers. At this point, we have 260 of them. They start at age 3, and they go up to high school. And once you graduate from high school, you have to leave the program. But what happens is a lot of the kids that graduate that have been there all those years come back as instructors.
Sure.
So that's kind of nice. So after these kids get there and they start having their lessons, they'll have a recital in the spring. And they did want me to mention that, again, they're going to go online to sell the tickets for that. So you'll get instructions from your dancer on how to do that, how to
Okay.
order your tickets online to pay for them that way. If you don't get that, because sometimes the kids don't actually bring the stuff home. If you don't get that, you can always call City Hall, ask to talk to Park and Rec, and they'll give you the information on how to do that.
Fantastic. Let's talk about some surveys that took place recently and a process that's going on with one of the parks. It's Liberty Park, and it sounds like a neat opportunity for some neighbors to get involved.
Well, whenever we do a park, we send out a survey to all of the people around the park, asking them what they would like to see in the playground equipment, and then invite them to a meeting. And we ask them to bring their kids because it's the kids that are using the park. And those kids have some really cute ideas. Well, we also order all of our stuff from Landscapes Incorporated. And what they have done is they're able to switch out pieces of the equipment. It's like Tinker Toys. So if the slide is bent or too small, they're able to take that out and just put in a new slide. We don't have to buy all new equipment. So we've been slowly going to this process. It not only saves us time, it saves us a lot of money because we don't have to replace everything. So what they'll be doing at Liberty is they'll be painting the equipment so it looks fresh and new. If there's something the kids want that isn't there, and if we have the money for that, we'll replace a piece of equipment or upgrade what's there. And the container that's there, that takes a lot of effort and time. The container at Liberty Park doesn't need much fixing, just a little touch up here or there. So we should be able to get this project going before the end of the year and then order the equipment and have it installed in the spring. So they should have a new park this spring.
That'll make many kids happy in that neighborhood. Let's touch on a couple of the facilities around town that are in Park and Rec and are very busy. We've got, in fact, a few numbers to pass along, Mayor. Let's begin with golf. That seems to be the place to be, or has been this summer and now into the fall.
Well, the fall leagues are just about finishing, which means there'll be a few more tee times open. It should be really nice the end of this week and this weekend, so great time to get out there. The course, as you can see behind me, is absolutely gorgeous. If nothing else, you just want to walk around the course and see what's there.
Right.
So this year, as of today, 23,605 golfers have played golf on that golf course. That takes a lot of maintenance and a lot of upkeep for our staff to keep that course looking that good. That seems to be a real popular place for them to be in. We're just doing business like crazy. Yeah. And then they're actually renting out the clubhouse and the back of the clubhouse for parties and gatherings. So that's been a real big asset too. That golf course is a big, big asset for the city of New Hope.
Hats off to all the staff there keeping that course going. Let's talk about the ice arena. They're ramping up for their season. They have been very busy, but it sounds like even busier now in the last week or so.
They have. You know, this is another great asset that the city of New Hope has. So both of the high schools, Cooper and Armstrong, practice at our ice arena. The youth hockey has practice there and their tryouts are there. And we have a lot of extra groups that come in and rent that ice. Now, as the season is getting going, that ice will be rented pretty much from morning till late night. And of course, every time it's rented, the ice has to be resurfaced. We're talking about the South Rink and perhaps thinking about redoing that South Rink because the floor needs to be redone. So that's just in the process. So you're going to be hearing more about that as time goes on.
Very good. And there's some open skating opportunities as well in between all of those practices and games. So go to the city's website to find out more. Final number we have to pass along is about the Aquatic Park, and talk about busy, some record-setting numbers here.
This is amazing because it really isn't open that long. 49,332 people went through the Aquatic Park this year. That's just an amazing number. It's way higher than we thought it would be. I don't know how they keep it looking so nice and fresh all the time, but it's done. The water was out. This kind of surprised me. Apparently they put some water back in, because if they don't have water in, the things with there's water in the soil, it tends to push the pool up. So they have to put water in to just hold the whole thing down. I said, well, doesn't it freeze? And they said it's so far below ground level that no, it does not.
Interesting. Okay. Little known
That's why I
facts
thought it
about
was,
the pool.
I thought it was interesting too. So they're just about done cleaning up the stuff, putting it away.
Okay.
And once it's actually locked up, then it's done for the season.
All right, couple final notes to pass along. A deadline coming up rather quickly here for the In Focus photo contest. Mayor, what type of pictures are you looking for?
People, places, and nature. And there's also a youth category. So they have until the 21st, which is Thursday, to get those pictures in. It really is nice if they name the pictures, because then we can identify them a little better. So they should be sent in online. And if you don't know how to do that, call City Hall. They'll give you Beth Kramer, who will help you walk you through how to get those pictures sent to her online. So then once all the pictures are in, they'll have a group that will look at them and pick the winners. And they'll also pick the youth category. But in the meantime, the pictures will be displayed at City Hall, and people can go in and look at all the pictures that have been submitted. And then they have a People's Choice Award, and they can vote on the one they like the best.
Very fun. Great opportunity for residents to get involved. Here's one more way to get involved with the police department, something called the Pink Patch Project. Help us understand that a little more.
If nothing else, it's hard to say.
Yes.
So the African American Breast Cancer Alliance has gone to all of the police departments in the country and asked them to do this Pink Patch Project. And what it is, it's a police patch. It looks like the police department's patch, but it's pink. And you can buy that or a little pin to put on your lapel. And again, it's little, just little, and it's pink. And you can put that on your lapel. And they're both $10. Any money that's raised through this is going to this African American Breast Cancer Alliance, who also does a lot of studying of breast cancer and research on it.
Very good. All right. Great opportunity. And again, city's website, you see at the bottom of the screen, newhopemn.gov. You can find out more about that project, about the In Focus photo contests, or all of the other things that we mentioned today. Mayor, thanks once again for your time. Appreciate chatting with you, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Dave. See you then. Bye-bye.
And stick with us. Here's a look at some other activities coming up in the city of New Hope. Learn more about the connection at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.